Picture yourself stepping out of a hired motor car onto the pearl-grey gravel of St. Guthlac's Abbey, a lonely jewel set deep in the Fenland marshes. Mist curls around your ankles like inquisitive cats, and somewhere beyond the reed beds a bittern booms, as if welcoming you in its own lugubrious tongue. You straighten your hat, draw your coat tighter, and decide at once that you rather enjoy the theatrical gloom. After all, you are Lord Peter Wimsey, though between us, you do relish when people pretend not to know it, and you have come here to do nothing more sinister than catalogue a trove of medieval manuscripts, or so you believe. A lay brother named Brother Martin greets you under the crumbling archway. He is all apologies and anxious smiles, like a man torn between courtesy and premonition. You note his fingers twitch every time the wind whistles through the belfry. You ask whether the abbey always looks like an etching by Gustave Doré, and Brother Martin forces a laugh. Then he lowers his voice. "The fog, my lord, we can explain. But the bell, well, let us hope you will not hear it." You are naturally intrigued, a bell that must not be heard. You prompt him lightly, as one might coax a shy student. Brother Martin's eyes slide to the ruined tower, to the great bronze instrument visible through an open louver. "It tolls on certain nights," he whispers, "always at 1 in the morning. There is no rope, no ringer, and yet the bell speaks. When it does, death follows before dawn." Now, a lesser mind might scoff. You, however, savour folklore the way oenophiles savour a whisper of tannin. You press farther, but Martin merely shows you to your chamber, an austere cell with a high lancet window and the faint scent of beeswax, and excuses himself. As his sandals fade down the corridor, you wonder, is the phantom bell pure village fancy, or something darker, knotted into the abbey's long memory? The first day drifts by in workmanlike peace. You take notes on illuminated capitals that glow like trapped sunsets. You admire the ink-black marginalia of a particularly mischievous monk who doodled snails jousting with knights, and you finish with a supper of barley broth that tastes better than it looks. When the community retires to compline, you linger in the library, candle guttering beside you, mind humming with Latin abbreviations. The silence is cathedral deep. You tell yourself you will go to bed before midnight. You do not. At precisely 1 o'clock, the air stiffens. You do not remember opening the window, yet mist curls inside the library, as though invited. Then it comes. One slow, mournful peal, heavy enough to shiver the candle flame and raise gooseflesh along your wrists. The note hangs, then dissolves into silence so complete your own heartbeat sounds indecently loud. You wait for a second stroke, but none arrives. One note, one warning. You sit back and whisper, "Well, that is rather good show, isn't it?" Sleep finds you only near dawn, and it is broken 2 hours later by frantic knocking. Brother Martin stands outside your door, pallid as parchment. "Forgive me, my lord," he pants, "but Father Ambrose is dead." You follow him to the cloister walk, where a knot of monks cluster around a prone figure. Father Ambrose lies as if merely resting from a long sermon, yet his skin is waxy, and a trickle of blood stains the grey flagstones beneath his ear. You kneel, press 2 fingers to the man's throat, and confirm the obvious. Heart failure, perhaps. But then why the head wound? And why at this hour, the very morning after the bell spoke? Brother Martin murmurs that Father Ambrose was healthy as a plough horse. You ask about enemies. The monk shakes his head, but his eyes flick toward Prior Godwin, a tall, gaunt figure already shepherding brothers back to prayer. A curious tension glints between the two men, a tautness you recognize like the twang of a bowstring. By breakfast, the abbey is a hive of hushed speculation. You wander into the refectory, where Father Anselm, the infirmarian, serves weak tea. In conversational tones, you ask if anyone has inspected the bell for mechanical malfunction. Anselm's spoon stops mid-stir. "It is sealed," he replies. "Iron bars across the stair. No one may ascend." You smile. Seals can be opened. Bars can be lifted. What cannot be so easily overcome is fear, and fear hangs here like incense. Throughout the day, you drift from scriptorium to garden, observing, listening, letting suspicion ferment. Brother Martin confides that Father Ambrose planned to sell several manuscripts to raise funds for roof repairs. Prior Godwin opposed the idea vehemently. A motive? Possibly. Yet would a prior sully his own abbey with murder? Stranger things have happened in quieter cloisters. Night falls thick and wet. You dine with the community on smoked eel, a local staple you endure with good grace, then retreat toward your chamber, but curiosity hooks you midway. Instead, you slip through the cloister and locate the barred stair to the belfry. The gate is padlocked, the iron cold against your palm. You produce a slender tool, purely for bibliographic emergencies, you claim, and coax the lock until it sighs open. Upward you climb, stone steps slick with moss, until you reach the wooden platform where the bell broods like a suspended planet. Moonlight filters through phantom windows. You circle the bell. No clapper hangs inside. The rope, you note, is severed 3 feet below the wheel. There is no mechanism a human hand could use, at least not tonight. You slide a finger across the bronze. Moisture beads on your glove, and you catch the faintest scent of oil. Someone has cleaned this bell recently. You pocket that fact for later and descend, locking the gate behind you. Back in the library, you resume your cataloguing, ostensibly. In truth, you are hunting. You recall Father Ambrose's interest in selling manuscripts and wonder if he uncovered something whose loss would hurt the abbey more than a leaky roof. Around midnight, you turn a page of a richly illuminated psalter and your pulse stutters. In the bottom margin, a tiny bell is painted, its clapper rendered as a skull. Beside it, in microscopic Gothic script, reads a line of Latin: Quem funebre signum secum infert, morte tacent ali. Roughly, he who carries the funeral bell within himself silences others by death. You trace the words, a cipher, an admonition. You flip through the folio and notice more bells hidden among vines and dragons. Each accompanies sets of small teal dots, sometimes in 3s, sometimes 4s. You fetch paper, copy them, and consider the obvious. Dots as letters, perhaps a numeric cipher. By dawn, you have decoded a single phrase: Quatuor fraudes, 4 deceits, 1 sudden death, and a spectral bell that tolls exactly once. Are you dealing with medieval prophecy or a modern psychodrama dressed in antique clothing? Either way, you mean to expose it. The next evening, after a day of damp silence and sideways glances, you convene the brothers in the chapter house. You apologize for intruding upon their devotions, but insist the situation requires clarity. You recount, in measured tones, the cipher you discovered, and the emblematic bell. Heads bow. Prior Godwin's lips thin. You then ask, with theatrical casualness, whether anyone minds if you conduct a small reenactment in the bell tower at midnight. The prior bristles but grants permission. Shortly before the hour, you climb the tower once more, this time accompanied by Brother Martin, Father Anselm, and the reluctant prior. Lantern light flutters over damp beams. You ask them to wait below while you ascend the final ladder alone. At 1 minute to 1, you call down, Gentlemen, prepare your ears. You let silence grow huge. Then, deliberately, you strike the bell with a concealed wooden mallet. The sound pours through the tower like molten iron, rolling out into the fen beyond. You descend quickly, face carefully blank. Brother Martin is shaking. Anselm crosses himself. Prior Godwin looks oddly relieved. Did any of you ask, notice a chill just now? A sudden darkness? They frown. You turn your lantern on Anselm's robe. No? Then perhaps the bell is not haunted after all. Godwin exhales. Then Father Ambrose's death was mere chance. Ah, you reply. Chance rarely cleans bells with linseed oil, my dear prior. You point toward his sandals. Specks of bronze dust cling to the leather straps. Godwin opens his mouth, shuts it, then lunges toward the stairs. Brother Martin blocks him. In the scuffle, a small weighted hammer clatters from Godwin's sleeve, not large enough to move the bell, but perfect for producing that single ominous peal when struck from within. The prior collapses onto the steps, pulling at his cowl like a trapped man pulling at vines. Words burst from him, anger, fear, justification. He speaks of ancient vows, of Father Ambrose's sacrilege in selling sacred texts. He tells how he only meant to frighten Ambrose into abandoning the scheme. But the older priest surprised him in the tower, struggled for the hammer, slipped, cracked his skull. Godwin panicked, fled, and let legend devour the evidence. You listen, head tilted, pity stirring despite yourself. You remind him that the bell never meant to kill, but fear often finishes what superstition starts. You escort him down the stairs, hand on his elbow, and deliver him to the authorities summoned from the nearby village. An hour later, dawn limps over the fen. Mist thins to reveal water meadows stitched with silver ditches. Brother Martin stands beside you on the west wall. He thanks you, though the words taste bitter on his tongue. You reply that manuscripts do not demand blood. They only ask for careful hands and honest stewardship. He nods, eyes wet. Before you depart, you return to the library and spend a silent moment with the psalter that began it all. 4 deceits. You believe you have uncovered 3. Godwin's fraud with the bell, his lie about the tower's seal, his concealment of the hammer. The 4th, it may remain hidden in those pages, a riddle for another restless scholar. Your motorcar splashes down the muddy lane, abbey receding into gauzy daylight. You wonder, flashing a grin at your own reflection in the windscreen, whether you will ever again hear a bell without thinking of skulls, ciphers, and a single fatal note. Then you tell yourself, with characteristic briskness, that the world is full of bells and most merely call people to table. So what shall you remember from this mist-draggled interlude? Perhaps that fear amplified becomes fatal, that secrets kept in margins can rewrite the main text of our days, and that sometimes the most terrifying sound is not a scream, but one solitary chime in the dark, asking a question you dare not answer. When the next bell tolls in your life, will you pause to investigate, or will you let superstition dictate the ending? The choice, as ever, is yours.